July's no joke. We start out light, fun, and flirty, but don't get too comfy. This month has the kind of energy that can test our relationships, trigger our health, and shake up our finances. Welcome to Astro ROI. I'm Catherine Cartini, here to show you how astrology can be used for personal and professional development, and I'm back. Thank you for your patience last month. I'm navigating a reverse nodal return. Uranus crossed over my sun and ascendant, and Pluto is right on my MC line. Translation, all the things. But with the North Node of Destiny and Pisces, which is my 11th house of online communities and big picture goals, I'm thankful that the channel has almost reached 2,000 subscribers. And with Mars now moving through my 5th house of creative projects, I'm motivated to keep going. So out the gate, Venus enters Gemini in July, adding pops of color to our Independence Day plans. But just days later, we dive headfirst into another round of retrograde madness. Neptune, Saturn, and Mercury all join Pluto in reverse. This means our dreams, what we need to take seriously, and how we're sharing what's on our minds are all under review. This is a course correction, not to punish, to help us prepare. We've also got a Capricorn full moon that asks us to back up our words with our actions, a Leo new moon that reminds us that we can't please all the people 100% of the time, and Uranus tiptoeing into Gemini for the first time in 80 years to preview major shakeups in tech and media, which I believe puts the focus on censorship and privacy. Bottom line, this is a clean sweep month. We don't have to have it all figured out, but we do need to pay attention. What's not working will no longer be tolerated in 2026. We need to start adjusting now so we don't get blindsided next year. Before I share forecasts for each zodiac sign, I'll show you how the major events in July could impact the collective. There are timestamps below. I also posted 90-second highlights for each sign here and on Instagram at AstroCoachGate. And since we're at the halfway point, there's a link in the description for 2025 yearly forecast. It will help you gain insight into the rest of the year. If you like to train with me, I have single sessions and coaching packages on my website. I'll look at your personal data and help you create a game plan. Or if you'd like to look at your own chart or become an astrologer, I partner with Luna Astrology Software. You can get 10% off using the link in the description. Now, here's a little taste of what's happening in July. This is a list of the major events this month if you like to take a screenshot. I'll quickly run through how each hits on a macro level. Then I'll show you where the energy lands for your sign. Starting on July 4th, Venus enters Gemini, so Taurus and Libra placements take note because your chart ruler is on the move. The vibe shifts from Taurus, which is protective and sensual, to Gemini, which is playful, chatty, and curious. Venus in Gemini flirts with ideas and people, especially the ones willing to listen to their ideas. This is park bench banter, not suspenseful telenovelas. But here's the catch. By July 11th, Venus squares Mars in Virgo. The tension will be real. Venus in Gemini again wants to flirt and flow, but Mars, especially in Virgo, wants a plan and a purpose. This clash can show up as nitpicking someone's appearance or style or spending impulsively. Now, Mars will always find Venus alluring, but while transiting through Gemini, kind of annoying. So Aries, Scorpio, and Virgos play nice. Try not to let petty things morph into bigger issues. Also on July 4th, Neptune will go retrograde, making it the first planet in the upcoming retrograde madness to backspin after Pluto. We'll cover Saturn, Mercury, and Uranus in a minute. First, here's what makes Neptune retrograde unique. Aries, a sign it hasn't touched in over 160 years. And we've already had a taste. This is not dreamy Pisces energy. Neptune in Aries is a spiritual spitfire. So if you're even remotely delusional about who our fearless leaders claim to be, between now and mid-December, you'll be forced to ask yourself if these people are for real. Now, we also have to look in the mirror because Aries represents the self. If we're putting up any sort of false front, we'll be exposed. Neptune doesn't care what your feed looks like, and the retrograde will remove filters. For example, I found my first gray hair right here, and I'm not pleased. I've been skirting the aging process, but time catches up with all of us eventually. That's Neptune retrograde in Aries. Then on July 7th, Uranus enters Gemini for the first time in over 80 years. And while it's just a preview, it's a powerful one. Since 2018, Uranus has been in Taurus, shaking up everything we thought was stable and relied on. Money, food, land, even our values, the banking system, global conflicts, partisan divide, and the collapse of public health care. That's all Uranus in Taurus. But Uranus in Gemini, that disrupts the mind. So the unexpected changes will be tied to media, technology, and education, anything involving how we communicate and learn. So this is about the acceleration of AI, decentralized platforms, and I think definitely misinformation wars. And yes, Uranus will always result in scientific breakthroughs since it rules Aquarius. So this is about advancements in aerospace, quantum computing, and the evolution of thought in general. Now, with Pluto and Aquarius, this isn't just change, it's transformation. Will technology strip away our rights or help evolve us into healthier, more independent humans? From July to October, we'll get a glimpse. This could mean social restlessness or ideas too big to ignore. But in October, Uranus retrogrades back into Taurus one last time to clear out the systems that can't come with us. So take notes and stay curious. This is the download. The real install begins in April 2026. This energy leans to the full moon in Capricorn. So if Venus in Gemini has been fun and flirty, this lunation flips on the lights and says, party's over. Capricorn wants structure and discipline. He's the boss of the zodiac, here to ask, are we walking our talk? Full moons bring turning points, completions, and reality checks. So as you reflect on what you've been building over the last 6 months, ask, do your goals still align with your action, or has someone or something knocked you off your path? Because the full moon opposes the sun in Cancer, lighting up an emotional axis. So it's not just about productivity or achieving more. It's about creating something that feels safe, meaningful, and real. To help, think about why you started building whatever in the first place. Now, here's the assist. From July 8th through 14th, the sun sextiles the south node in Virgo and trines the north node in Pisces. This creates a karmic checkpoint. So if we feel pulled to fix, overwork, or control, understand that's Virgo's old story. Pisces wants us to surrender. The lesson is to let go of the grind and trust the process. Next in the retrograde madness is Saturn. On July 13th, the taskmaster starts moving backwards at 1 degree of Aries, the cosmic starting line. So you may have just felt the momentum building, only now you have to pause, review, and rework. Since this comes just weeks after Neptune's retrograde began, the two planets are still sitting right next to each other. Deja vu will be real. So these retrogrades are more than a delay. This is another major course correction. Aries is about leadership and taking ownership. But before we charge ahead, Saturn says, not so fast. There's unfinished business in the Pisces area that needs to be addressed. So that's where we're headed. This is about emotional maturity, spiritual discipline, and reinforcing our energetic boundaries. This inner work needs to be handled before we're ready to take hold of Aries fire. If you're feeling caught between a breakthrough and a breakdown, you're right on time. Between now and November, clear what needs clearing so you can lead without fear in 2026. And just when you thought the retrograde chaos couldn't get louder, Mercury starts backtracking in Leo on July 18th. This will feel like a cosmic rerun having to do with pride, performance, and the need to be heard. This retrograde asks, is speaking our truth authentic or just our ego talking? Is it boasting to want credit, or do we just want to be acknowledged? Either way, this won't be quiet. Leo is loud, dramatic, and demanding. The lesson, however, is to tone it down. Don't grab the mic just yet. Since the sun rules Leo, joy, kids, dating, creativity, expect the biggest miscommunications to hit there. Arguments will flare. Leaders won't back down, and kids will push buttons. I was just at a barbecue where my friend replayed security footage to prove his teens said something, and they still denied it. That's Mercury retrograde in Leo in a nutshell. Leo, I didn't do it. Mercury retrograde, let's roll back the tape. So reflect and reinforce what you stand for, especially when it comes to your identity or reputation. That's the sun's influence. By August 10th, you can step back up to the mic with clarity and confidence. But first, on July 20th, Mars connects with the South Node in Virgo, reigniting the lunar eclipse on March 14th. This won't be subtle. Mars rules action. The South Node brings up the past, and in Virgo, this means old habits of overworking, overthinking, and trying to control everything. So what broke down for you in mid-March? For me, it was my content schedule. I was doing everything from images to long-form, short-form website updates and trying to make it all perfect. But clinging to that pace set my big picture goals back. And then I got sick when I wasn't listening to my body. I love the work, but there just aren't enough hours in the day. I needed to prioritize my clients and what I'm building for the future. Something had to give. Here's the point. This isn't about doing more. It's about seeing where effort turns into avoidance, where precision becomes perfectionism, and where trying to be useful steals our peace. Mars and the South Node don't want us to quit. They just need us to let go of control so we can keep going. I think this is a good lesson to carry on as the sun returns home to Leo on July 22nd, because this is big heart energy. It's bold and unapologetic. Leo reminds us to shine, not prove. That said, this Leo season comes with a twist. From July 18th to the 30th, the sun is going to fight for attention with 3 outer planets, so summer fun can quickly turn into debauchery. First, the sun sextiles Uranus and Gemini, bringing quick ideas, surprises, and creative breakthroughs. Then it trines Saturn and Neptune retrograde in Aries, asking us to take our dreams seriously and give them structure. And right in the middle, it opposes Pluto and Aquarius. So this suggests power struggles, especially if someone's trying to dim our light. So yes, Leo season is about being seen, but this go around the sun is not just for the applause. Let's all keep this in mind on July 24th during the new moon in Leo. This is the perfect time to reset. Where do we need to have more courage? Could we benefit from a bit more fun? Leo rules the heart, so think about if you're playing small out of fear or if you're hiding your light to keep the peace. It's okay to take up a little space. Sorry, not sorry. Just remember that this new moon isn't operating in a vacuum. It's surrounded by the outer planet transits, sextiles to Uranus, which bring unexpected changes, trines to Saturn and Neptune, pushing us to take our dreams seriously, and that bully of an opposition to Pluto that suggests someone won't want us to have our time in the spotlight. So our fresh start might come with a reality check or power shift, but if I know Leo, it will be worth it. So start the thing, say the thing, do all the things. Now to your horoscopes. I'm a Western astrologer using the whole house system based on rising signs. Listen to that first. Then your sun and moon for extra value. I'm using Luna Astrology software. Again, if you'd like 10% off Luna, there's a link in the description. And if you'd like to use your personal data, go to astrocoachk.com to book a free discovery call. Aries, sun, moon, or rising, Venus, the planet of love, money, and values, is moving into Gemini on July 4th to sweeten your third house of communications. In a word, you'll be charming. How you speak and connect will have a flirty flair. If you want to buy or sell a gadget or vehicle or negotiate a contract, no one will be able to talk you down. This energy could also extend to conversations with your siblings or neighbors. So whether you've been at odds over who pays for what, or you want to throw a block party, you'll likely get what you ask for, especially since Venus rules your 2nd and 7th houses. Money and relationships are definitely part of this story. There's just one hiccup. When Venus squares Mars mid-month, pay attention to your schedule or health. If either is disturbed, it could morph into arguments with your coworkers. So if you're overwhelmed from July 11th to the 31st, just say so gently. Now we need to dive into how the retrograde magnets will impact your sign. First, Neptune retrogrades through Aries starting on July 4th. This will muck with your focus, energy, and potentially life direction if people don't appreciate how far you've come over the last year. Instead of trying to prove yourself or win someone over, take a pause. You're a natural born leader, Aries. As long as you're comfortable in your own skin, you'll maintain a positive outlook on life. By the fall, Neptune will dip back into your 12th house of healing for one last sweep. That's when you'll clear away any self-doubt that may be lingering in the background. This is the purpose of Uranus moving into your 3rd house of the mind. Uranus is the planet of drastic change. In Gemini, ideas will come fast. You'll wield technology like a wand, and what you say will hold extreme power. I know you already feel this. In all the ways you're speaking up for yourself. This has likely impacted your friendships. You could be making money in multiple ways. How you network to earn that money, no doubt, is different. And it's very possible that your goals have sent you in a new, potentially eccentric direction. And this is just a preview. Just wait until Uranus hits your money zone in October. That's when your ideas turn tangible. So don't waste the opportunity to literally speak your goals into reality. Because now we need to talk about the full moon in Capricorn on July 11th. Your public life will be in the spotlight. Decisions about your career or how you lead a team may come to a head, especially if either has been dragging you down. This can also point towards parenting or your social status, like being single, married, or divorced, with karmic aspects to your work and reputation and your home life being called into question. I think the best way to work with this energy is to ask, are your ambitions making you feel good, or are you sacrificing too much just to be recognized for your efforts? Now here's the true test. Saturn represents lessons, rules, and limitations. On July 13th, he'll go retrograde in your first house, which is all about your identity, specifically connected to your career, professional networks, and reputation. For you, the retrograde demands accountability to yourself, because I believe this is about who you're becoming and how that affects your long-term goals. If what you're doing doesn't feel right anymore, pivot. There's no shame to the pivot game. Saturn wants structure, which involves getting serious about what you want. So for this to happen, and I don't mean to sound like a broken record, you need to get clear on how you communicate your needs. On July 18th, Mercury goes retrograde. The energy lands in your fifth, which will push you to reevaluate your business contracts, romantic conversations, or how you relate to your kids. Since Mercury also rules your sixth house of work, health, and daily routines, expect your schedule or snags and miscommunications, either with your coworkers, who you're dating, or again, with your children. I think it's best to think before hitting send, and I don't feel that now is the time to make big decisions. Passion's great, but you want to create something concrete over pocketing a quick win. None of this will come easy. Now, when Neptune is clouding your judgment, Mercury is creating delays, and Saturn is making you feel like you can't get anything right. So stay alert on July 20th when Mars, your ruler, connects with the South Node in Virgo. The South Node represents what we need to let go of. In Virgo, old patterns around overworking or needing to control will likely resurface. Think back to what was happening during the eclipse mid-March. Did you get sick or injured? Was your schedule so packed you couldn't breathe? Did a large bill come due that sent you into a fight or flight mode? The takeaway is you can't fix everything yourself. If you've been micromanaging on the job or avoiding your health to get a job done, this is a wake-up call, and I really want you to be careful. Now, while there's a lot of change happening in July, the entire month is not all about being serious. Starting on July 22nd, the sun moves into Leo. This activates your fifth house of joy. So between now and late August, have fun. Play sports, dive into a hobby, and enjoy time with your kids. You can still stay committed to your goals, even if you take a day to play around a golf or tune out at a concert or get lost in someone's eyes for a night. In fact, childlike play is what will help you through the heavier days. And the cool part is, by this time, you won't care what other people have to say. If your friends or colleagues are blowing up your phone, you'll send them a voicemail for a change. Go create your own fun. This energy will take you right into the new moon in Leo, lucky duck. New moons are fresh starts, and this one activates anything and everything that makes you feel happy. So set new intentions around joy, creativity, and how you can live your life on your own terms. Over the next 6 months, you have cosmic permission to be loud about what lights you up, because your passion for life is never the distraction. It's what makes you awesome. So stop burying your spark. Broadcast it. The right people will see the real you, and you will be happy by the new year. If you found value in your forecast, please pay it forward by subscribing to the channel, posting a comment, and clicking on the notification bell. Transcripts are posted on astrocoachkate.com, where you can find all the ways to train with me and book a free discovery call. Taurus, sun, moon, and rising. Your ruling planet Venus moves out of your sign and into your second house of money, possessions, and self-worth. This gives you the opportunity to increase your income, and it will guide you closer to financial freedom, possibly because you're making money in multiple ways, like selling products online or through writing and media. Since Venus rules your identity, work, health, and schedule, this is the moment when how you earn a living starts to align with the person you're becoming. That said, the second half of the month might get dicey when Venus squares Mars in your fifth house of creativity, dating, and kids. If I were you, and I am, I would exercise caution. No impulsive purchases on passion projects, hobbies, or situationships. And if your kids tug at your heartstrings because they want this and that, stand firm. You need to stay focused, which likely means sticking to a budget regardless of how much money you're making. Because also on July 4th, we head into a new wave of retrograde madness. Pluto is already backtracking, causing revision to your career. Now Neptune will retrograde in your 12th house of what you keep private. This will peel back illusions around burnout, isolation, or your faith. With Neptune ruling your 11th house, this is also about your connection to community and long-term wishes. When Neptune slips back into Pisces in the fall, you'll know which dreams were never yours to begin with. For now, keep doing the inner work. The only way around it is through it. Now to probably your biggest storyline of the year. Uranus is finally leaving your sign and moving into Gemini. Since 2018, you've been shaken, not stirred. You likely experienced major shifts in your appearance, lifestyle, relationships, and career because Uranus rules your 10th house of public image, status, and legacy. But from July 7th to early October, you get a bit of a break. The changes will now impact your finances. This doesn't mean you're going to lose everything you worked so hard for. On the contrary, this is when you'll start seeing tangible results, and it's just a preview. So here's the key. You need to take all the lessons you've learned and apply them to how you make money. Let me be clear. You cannot work to live. You need to live to work. I know you know what I'm talking about, and I know you know there's no going back. A friend just reminded me of Tortoise mentality. Burn the boats. This means you need to make a firm, irreversible commitment by eliminating all options for retreat. Success is the only viable option because there's no other way to go. Got it? So on July 11th, under the full moon in Capricorn, take a bow. Full moons are turning points, completions, or endings. The energy lands in your 9th house of beliefs, education, long distance travel, and publishing. So where did you want to go? What did you want to learn? Or how has your perspective changed over the last 6 months? With the sun in your 3rd house, a new way of thinking may be challenging an old version of yourself. All the more, Saturn, the ruler of this full moon, points towards professional maturity, specifically by letting go of the past. And with the north and south nodes also at play, ask, is your mind open enough to let your future evolve? If it's time to step into a leadership role by becoming a teacher or a mentor, and this is divinely timed, you just have to believe it. Now, this doesn't mean there's no more learning to be had, not by a long shot. So between July 13th and late November, as the taskmaster retrogrades back through your 12th house of spirituality and the subconscious, see this as an opportunity to let go of any lingering self-doubt. You will be faced with your fears. You will be torn over old habits. You will need to be disciplined about your faith. Remember, Saturn governs your higher beliefs and career direction. So the unseen work you do during this time will become the foundation for your next professional chapter. This is what legacy is made of. Embrace the silence. That's where the magic happens. That said, finding a quiet place to think may be hard to come by starting on July 18th when Mercury goes retrograde in your home life. This can accelerate differences of opinions with family members and delay decisions around home and property matters. With Mercury ruling your income and pleasure houses, the squabbles and setbacks may also impact your financial security or lifestyle. Now is not the time to move, sign leases, loan money, or jump into emotionally fueled decisions. Even if the conversations go back and forth until mid-August, what you need to do is stabilize your foundation. Keep having the talks until you reach conflict resolution, especially on July 20th. This is when Mars meets the South Node in your 5th house of romance, creative projects, and children. If these areas become a distraction, it's likely because you're avoiding something or seeking emotional safety. This is fill the void energy. I say this because Mars rules your 12th house of self-undoing and your 7th house of committed partnerships. And Virgo, which is ruled by Mercury, impacts your home life. While Mars represents passion and drive, the South Node points towards what we need to release. So pay attention to how the past influences your present relationships, romantic, business, and friendships. It's possible that your inner child tries to take the wheel from the adult you've become. Now let's talk about a bright spot. Leo season begins on July 22nd. This brings the focus back to your home, family, and emotional needs. While life-changing transits to your income, career, and inner world are all month, you're being pushed to ask, does my space support my ambition or drain it? This means that the change might start with a home office or a new zip code, but you should recognize a common theme. July is about security and peace. So what do you need right now to feel safe? The sooner you can settle in, the faster you'll be able to stabilize your nervous system so you can make more money and advance your career. That said, it's no surprise that the new moon in Leo on July 24th will shine down on your home life. It's very important that you set new intentions around your family and where you root yourself emotionally. Whether this involves a physical space like redecorating, renovating, or relocating, or this is about what you need to feel secure, like surrounding yourself with trusted, reliable people. Whatever you plant now will feed you in 6 months. If you found value in your forecast, please pay it forward by subscribing to the channel, posting a comment, and clicking on the notification bell. Transcripts are posted on astrocoachkate.com, where you can find all the ways to train with me and book a free discovery call. Gemini, sun, moon, and rising. Ooh la la. Venus, the planet of love and beauty, enters your sign on July 4th. She'll accentuate your style, charm, and magnetism. So be mindful that a glance can be mistaken as a come hither or not, depending on your status. With Venus ruling your 5th and 12th houses, you may feel pulled between romance and needing space. The best way I believe to work with this energy is to be honest. Sneaky links and midnight texts will lead to cheap thrills, especially mid-month. When Venus squares Mars in Virgo, tension will build in your home life. Expect family drama or past emotional triggers to push buttons. With Venus in your sign, you could and should call attention to yourself. Just stick to your values and do it with grace. Because also on July 4th, Neptune goes retrograde. Not everything will be as it seems. The energy starts in your 11th house, clouding your dreams, friendships, and professional networks. With Neptune ruling your career and public image, this retrograde directly ties to how you make your mark on the world. So ask, are you aligning with authentic communities or drifting off course trying to please the crowd? From now until December, think about what success really means to you, especially since the biggest storyline for you this month and for the next 8 years is Uranus moving into your sign. Change will hit fast. Your appearance, your identity, your voice will all be rewired. So take note, between July 7th and early October, this is a preview into your future. Since Uranus rules your 9th house, your reinvention could be tied to a legal matter, traveling abroad, or seeking guidance from a teacher or mentor. But one thing's for certain, Uranus will completely uproot your life. In the fall, you'll be able to process some of the early changes as best you can. Uranus is the unexpected, so brace yourself for the ride of your life. This energy will be relentless until 2032. My advice is to make friends with the Taurus. They've got all the recent war stories. Now, I don't mean to scare you. I have 6 major placements in Taurus, and I'm still standing. Plus, Geminis do much better with change than fixed Earth signs. So, on July 11th, the full moon in Capricorn, just let go. Full moons are major turning points, releases, or endings, and this one will hit your shared resources hard. And you know, when I say resources, it's time, money, and energy. With the sun in your 2nd house of personal finances, all the more this points towards a power play between what's yours and what's shared. And with Saturn being the ruler of this full moon, your long-term goals are on the line. The nodal activity also puts pressure on your home life and your career or public image. So, are you merging your money and foregoing financial independence? Are you parting ways with someone because they're not financially responsible, they're untrustworthy, or even unfaithful? Lean into the favorable aspects, your money, your home, your career. Protect those areas and cut ties with the rest. Let's talk more about Saturn, the planet that represents karma, limitations, and discipline. He is your life lessons. On July 13th, the taskmaster will start moving backwards through your 11th house. This puts your social life, professional networks, and biggest goals under review. So between now and the end of November, ask, what are you building towards, and who's coming with you? With Saturn ruling your 8th house of joint resources and deep connections, and your 9th house of legal matters and morals, this retrograde is about aligning your values with your future goals. If someone triggers your biggest fears, they're not the one. If your friends don't believe in you, they're not your friends. Say yes to what and who supports your growth. Say no to what and who you think you need to succeed. If all of this wasn't enough, now on July 18th, your chart ruler Mercury joins the retrograde madness. Leo represents your 3rd house of communication, so expect cross wires, delays, or drama with tech, vehicles, travel, or your relatives. Since you are Mercury, the upsets will mess with your body and home life too. I know your mind works lightning speed, but trust me, now is not the time to fire off texts, emails, or lose your cool in general. Use the slowdown to think before you act or react. You'll be able to think more clearly towards the end of August. This is when you can make major decisions and say what you need to say without burning down the house. Otherwise, the stress could lead to illness or injury. Now flag July 20th as a caution day. This is when Mars joins the South Node in your 4th house of home, family, parents, and the past. Something will happen that reactivates the lunar eclipse from mid-March, and it will be intense. Mars rules your health, work environment, and schedule. It's also associated with your social life, profits, and long-term goals. And of course, Virgo is ruled by Mercury. That's you. So this is personal. Are you overgiving, trying to control an outcome, fixing other people's problems to feel accepted? My advice is to walk away. I'm telling you, something or someone is going to implode, and with the South Node in Virgo, it could very well be you. So take a couple of days to cool off, then welcome in Leo season. Starting on July 22nd, the sun moves into your 3rd house of communications. Even though Mercury is still retrograde here, the sun is about having courage, speaking with pride, and being recognized. I want you to keep this in mind because the tricky part comes from the Pluto opposition in your 9th house of big picture thinking. Ask, is this truly your belief or one you've outgrown? Throughout this transit, the sun will sextile Uranus and Gemini, so something in your life will unexpectedly change. Be smart. What you say now will have long-lasting consequences or groundbreaking results. This leads us to the new moon in Leo on July 24th. Regardless of what July throws at you, this is your opportunity for a new beginning. You could start writing in your journal every day or work on a media project like a vlog or website. Over the next 6 months, you might polish your online profiles or create a marketing campaign that sells online courses. You get the idea. The purpose is to convert the more frustrating conversations you may be having at home into a creative outlet. If you found value in your forecast, please pay it forward by subscribing to the channel, posting a comment, and clicking on the notification bell. Transcripts are posted on astrocoachkate.com, where you can find all the ways to train with me and book a free discovery call. Cancer, sun, moon, and rising, your month kicks off with a focus on rest, healing, and seduction, as Venus, the planet of love and beauty, moves through your private 12th house. Starting on July 4th, the energy could stir up hidden desires, the kind that steam up the windows. With Venus ruling your home and social life, a friend could quickly become a lover, especially if they share your need for privacy. Just know that towards the second half of the month, Venus will square Mars in your 3rd house of communication. So if you've been drawn to someone and they cannot hold a conversation, the fire could go out as quickly as it was ignited. Because also on July 4th, Neptune, the illusionist, goes retrograde. Expect confusion in your career or social status. This will have you rethinking your public image and reputation, like, is this job a calling? Is this relationship a situationship? Since Neptune also rules what you believe in, ask, are you chasing a dream that no longer feels right? This is when you might knock someone off a pedestal to pursue travel or self-development. The takeaway is not to lean on others to fill a void. Now we need to talk about Uranus, the planet of innovation and disruption. He's moving into Gemini to shake up your private thoughts. Sudden insights are coming your way, which could result in some major life changes. Since Uranus rules your 8th house of shared resources and intimacy, emotional blocks or fears around trust, rejection, or abandonment, they may resurface. When Uranus dips back into Taurus in the fall, your social life will get a reset. To make sure you're discerning about the company you keep, do the shadow work now. The only way around it is through it. All of this inner work leads up to the full moon in Capricorn on July 10th. It will reveal something big in your relationships, romantic or professional. This could even be about unhealed wounds you've been projecting onto others. With the sun in your 1st house, you're learning to choose you without abandoning your connections. However, Saturn's connection will bring emotional maturity, and the nodal support will help you see how you show up in love or business. Speaking of Saturn, he's breaking out the ruler this month. The taskmaster will go retrograde from July 13th to the end of November. This is when the real lessons are learned. The energy lands in your 10th house of career, parenting, and public image, and it's tied to your committed partnerships and other people's money and biggest fears. So this could be about if your career fulfills you, if you feel you're lacking as a parent, or if you're with a partner for the right reasons. If something feels heavy, it's not just burnout, you're off balance. This is the time to readjust your goals. And no, none of this will be easy, especially with Mercury joining the retrograde madness from July 18th to August 10th. Expect miscommunications and delays related to your personal finances. Since Mercury rules your big ideas and private thoughts, you may think you have something in the bag only to find out you counted your chickens before they hatched. This is not the time to throw the baby out with the bathwater, though. There's just some reworking to do. Start by telling yourself a new story about what you deserve. The plot could include not just financial compensation, it will boost your self-esteem. Now, mark July 20th on your calendar. This is when Mars meets the South Node in your third house of communications. Today could spark sudden motivation to date, to create, to advance your career. The best way to use this energy is to write down your thoughts or have a conversation with a trusted source like a neighbor or relative. Since the South Node is about what we need to let go of to reach our destiny, it's possible a financial roadblock or, again, low self-esteem is the root source of what's been holding you back from enjoying your life. If you keep telling yourself that you can't, you won't. Got it? But fear not. Just days later, we enter Leo season. Now the sun will glow up your income or confidence. So use the energy to take stock in what you value. With Uranus in the mix, you could suddenly pivot in a new direction. Or with Saturn and Neptune involved, this could be when you get serious about advancing your career or upgrading your public image. There is an opposition to Pluto in your 8th house of shared assets like debt, taxes, and loans. So just be mindful of protecting what's yours if you do make an investment. Because over the next 6 months, you'll be focused on your finances and self-worth. Under the new moon in Leo on July 24th, reset your relationship with money. I believe the best approach to this is to think about how you want to feel about yourself instead of getting trapped by what you want to own. This is a root level reboot. Self-respect is your primary goal. If you found value in your forecast, please pay it forward by subscribing to the channel, posting a comment, and clicking on the notification bell. Transcripts are posted on astrocoachkate.com, where you can find all the ways to train with me and book a free discovery call. Leo, sun, moon, and rising July kicks off with a jam-packed social calendar. Expect your friends to blow up your phone and your colleagues to hit you up for happy hour as Venus moves into your 11th house of connection. With Venus ruling how you communicate and your career, networking could lead to visibility, or this is when you switch up your message to gain more recognition. That's the first half of the month. The second half sings a different tune when Venus squares Mars in your 2nd house of finances. All those parties and networking events could drain a hole in your wallet and force you to ask, am I getting these invites because people know I'll pay? The real question, however, is, do you need recognition or just to be appreciated? This will be confusing all the more because on the same day, Neptune starts moving backwards in your 9th house of what you believe. With Neptune also connected to other people's money and any fears you may have around trust, you'll rethink who's giving, who's taking, and where the boundaries blur. By the fall, if you're still dealing with trust issues, Neptune will force you to face them once and for all, or forever hold your peace. But I think you'll get there sooner than that, since Uranus is now moving into your 11th house of friendships and professional networks. Expect sudden changes in your social circles, especially if the company you keep is no longer aligning with your big picture goals. With Uranus ruling your 7th house of committed partnerships, if a partner challenges your plans, as soon as the planet of innovation and disruption dips back into your career zone, your public image will get a final wake-up call. Who you're married to, who you do business with, and who you call a friend will either make or break you. Choose wisely, because on July 10th, there's a full moon in Capricorn. The energy shifts to your work, health, and schedule. Full moons can bring major turning points or endings. So this could be when you quit your job or hire a personal assistant. With the sun in your 12th, you may feel torn between productivity and rest. Saturn's influence will have you eyeing your budget, especially when it comes to debt. This is when you'll want to ask if you're overextending yourself for other people's approval. The nodal activity wants you to make sure you're not bending over backwards to assist everyone else when your own coffers are running dry. So let's dive deeper into what Saturn wants you to learn. From July 13th through the end of November, Big Daddy will force you to get serious about your morals and ethics. Whether you seek out a mentor or take a self-help approach, growth will come from education, travel, or religion. Since Saturn rules your work ethic and relationships, a boss or your in-laws could play a role in the lesson, especially if this has to do with a legal matter. The point is to not follow rules because someone else says so. Saturn will help you decide what's best for you while keeping you honest. By July 18th, Mercury will By July 18th, Mercury will join Pluto, Neptune, and Saturn in the retrograde madness. Yes, Mercury retrograde will always create some sort of miscommunication or delays, but for you specifically, how others see you will be called into question since this is happening in your sign. Mercury is also connected to your income and goals, so a he said, she said conversation about what you bring to the table could be frustrating. This is not the time to over-explain yourself. Do what retrogrades are meant to do. Dig up receipts, mileage logs, and time cards. Let the facts speak. This is important because just days later, Mars activates the South Node in your money zone. It will trigger events from the eclipse in mid-March, so consider this round 2. If you've been spending outside your means or telling yourself you'll never have enough, it needs to end now. With Mars ruling your home life and what you believe, this is likely causing tension within your family and causing you to doubt your abilities to make money. Let me be clear. I don't care how much someone has. Everyone has a deep-rooted financial fear. Maybe it comes from a humble beginning or thinking they'll never be able to amount to their parents. So here's the truth. You are enough. You will always have enough. The grind doesn't define you. Okay, now it's time to turn your frown upside down. Happy Leo season. It's time to put aside whatever's been weighing you down and celebrate how amazing you are. Since there are still power aspects to your public life, beliefs, and relationships, the best way to use this energy is just to be yourself. You don't need to tap dance for anyone. Let them meet the real you. You'll always shine, Leo. That's your gift to the world. You are the sun. Which brings us to the new moon in Leo on July 24th. This is a rebirth for your identity. I know you've had a lot of 12th house activity this year, which might have had you isolating or biting your tongue to keep the peace. Mars moving back and forth throughout your sign hasn't been a picnic either, but that private time or potential hit to your ego gave you the opportunity to think about all the things. Now, over the next 6 months, you can celebrate this growth. You're not just the main character, you're the star of the show. Please remember that. If you found value in your forecast, please pay it forward by subscribing to the channel, posting a comment, and clicking on the notification bell. Transcripts are posted on astrocoachkate.com, where you can find all the ways to train with me and book a free discovery call. Virgo, sun, moon, and rising. You've been waiting for this, and I think it will be worth it. Starting on July 4th, Venus, the planet of money, will move into your career zone. This transit will bring attention. Expect more visibility and recognition. That said, this is a double-edged sword. While career wins are on the table, when Venus squares Mars in your first house mid-month, tension could rise between how you're seen and how you feel. With Venus ruling your income and beliefs, stay rooted in what's truly valuable. You don't need to hustle for validation, because on the same day, Neptune begins its retrograde in your 8th house. This puts the focus on debt and fears around trust. But with Neptune ruling your 7th, this backspin could bring relationship clarity. As the rose-colored glasses slip off, ask who's truly in your corner and what dynamics drain your power. Then on July 7th, brace yourself for a plot twist. This is when Uranus enters your 10th house, triggering a surprise shift in your career reputation. With Uranus ruling your health and schedule, this change will be unsettling. You could burn out or miss key appointments, so pay attention to how you feel. This will be a warning shot. When Uranus retrogrades back into Taurus this fall, you'll be able to reassess the big picture. The question is not, what do I do? It's, why do I do it? The answer will prepare you for the full moon in Capricorn on July 10th. This moon will awaken the part of you that wants to feel again, to play, create, or love without judgment. With the sun in your 11th, your connections are being tested, but you don't need to dim your light to fit in. Saturn will remind you that having fun isn't frivolous, it's fuel. So use the South Node to let go of the version people want you to be, and the North Node to build long-lasting relationships with people who like you for just the way you are. I'll say it again. Saturn, the planet that represents discipline and rules, wants to bring you more joy, better health, and meaningful work. How lucky are you? So as the taskmaster goes retrograde from July 13th until late November, here's what he wants you to do. Set boundaries. Do not give away your resources, time, money, or energy. If someone has been controlling you financially, or manipulating you with sex, you're right not to trust them. Now, on the flip side, because we all have to take 100% accountability for our 50%, the pressure you put on yourself to be perfect is compromising your peace. Your value is not tied to your productivity. So if someone knows that you'll work harder for financial security, affection, respect, and they don't have your best interest at heart, they're going to keep breadcrumbing you to take what they can get, which is everything. So prepare to just say no or walk away by the fall. Now, I know that was a lot. I will always share what I see as the potential challenges, but I will never leave you without what I believe are potential solutions. So please hear me out. Mercury, your chart ruler, will also go retrograde this month. I know you're used to it by now since it's happened 3 to 4 times a year since you were born, but this one's a little different. Leo represents your 12th house of what you keep hidden. This includes secrets, addictions, and isolation. And since Mercury is the mind, and you are Mercury, from July 18th to August 30th, get help when you need it. If you're not already working with a therapist, astrologer, or some kind of support group, I strongly advise it. That way, you can share some of the burden and use the retrograde energy to rest and heal. Mercury rules your body, so what's happening can also present as headaches, body aches, weight loss, or mysterious rashes. Mercury is also tied to your public image and career, so that's likely what's weighing on your mind. During the slowdown, the answers will come to you. Then in September, you can re-engage. I hope this comes across with care. I'm not trying to be a fearmonger. I say these things because when I was going through something similar, I wish I had someone in my life who would tell me the truth and support me without judgment. That's the mission of my practice. I strive to help others the way I wish I had been helped. Now, on July 20th, Mars will connect with the South Node in your sign. This will trigger the eclipse from mid-March, and it's personal for you. The South Node wants you to release an old identity or expectations, and since Mars rules how you think and merge your resources, time, money, and energy, and Mercury's retrograde confirms the story, shifting, you're not who you were. You are who you're becoming. Don't let whatever happens today block your forward movement. Now we get to brighten the mood because it's Leo season. Yes, Leo for you means turning the spotlight inward. So remember, solitude is not a punishment, it's sacred. You're purging outdated habits, work patterns, and power plays. Also, you can move forward with a clean slate. That deserves some peace and quiet. You're not hiding, you're preparing for your reveal. Which brings us to the new moon in Leo on July 24th. This is your cue to reset mentally, emotionally, and spiritually over the next 6 months. Create space for silence. Your next level begins with what you're willing to release. Surrender, trust the process, and as one of my mentors says, keep going. If you found value in your forecast, please pay it forward by subscribing to the channel, posting a comment, and clicking on the notification bell. Transcripts are posted on astrocoachkate.com, where you can find all the ways to train with me and book a free discovery call. Libra, sun, moon, and rising starting on July 4th. Venus, your chart ruler, will be in Gemini for the entire month. Inspiration will come from travel and deep thinking. Read more books. Since Venus is tied to your body and emotions, it's possible you start to wonder if your connections really support the person you're becoming, especially mid-month. This is when Venus squares Mars in your private 12th house. This suggests internal tension or hidden frustration. So this is when you'll want to lean into the healing energy of the 12th. Naps, walks in nature, Rogan podcast. Not every fight deserves a stage. Because also on July 4th and all the way until December, Neptune will retrograde through your 7th house of committed partnerships. Your close relationships will get a reality check. With Neptune ruling your work, health, and schedule, this transit will also link to how you serve, support, and overextend yourself. If you've been turning a blind eye to a partner's snide remarks or working through exhaustion, Neptune will help clear the fog. You deserve equal support. Otherwise, the relationship is just not worth your time, money, and energy. Now, a few days later, on July 7th, Uranus moves into Gemini. Consider it a window into the next 8 years. Uranus brings change, and this can be fast and unexpected. For you, Uranus will bring a breakthrough, a complete change of your perspective. You'll have sudden insights that shift what you thought was true. This can happen through education, a legal matter, religion, or politics. And since Uranus rules your house of pleasure, your task is to align what you love with the new truth. In the fall, Uranus will retrograde back into Taurus for one final pass through. This is when you'll need to face any fears around control, trust, merging your assets, death, or debt. It will be important to clear up these matters so you can continue to explore your new worldview over the next decade. Okay, let's talk about the full moon. This is happening in Capricorn on July 10th, and it could present conflict between your home life and your career. I don't need to tell you this, but something involving your family, real estate, or the past hasn't been right for a while now. Your emotional foundation needs attention. With Saturn ruling this moon and the sun activating the karmic nodes, this is a checkpoint. I would ask, are you building outward success on a shaky inner ground? Is whatever's happening preventing you from having fun or socializing? You really need to think about this. And the best way to get the answers is to work on a project, exercise, or sleep. You have to let your subconscious deliver the news. Just know that this release or ending is divinely timed, because just a few days later, Saturn will start moving backwards. Saturn is about our major life lessons. The energy retrograding through your 7th house of committed partnerships and self-awareness is where you'll learn yours. So between July 13th and the end of November, get serious about the agreements you make. Now, when I say partnerships, it's not just romantic. The 7th represents one-on-one bonds. So that's business partners, healthcare providers, clients, best friends, financial advisors, attorneys, coaches. So with Saturn linked to your emotional safety and what makes you happy, relationships that don't bring peace of mind will likely not survive, and that's okay. No one should ever have to settle. But for you specifically, Libra, you need balance in your relationships. If someone's been draining your resources, time, money, and energy, it's in your best interest to part ways. I know this is a lot. July is jam-packed for everyone. We're in the thick of a halfway point, and 2025 is meant to set the stage for 2026. So on July 18th, when Mercury joins the retrograde madness, don't be surprised if your friendships, professional contacts, and big picture goals get shaky. Since Mercury rules your personal development and your private thoughts, miscommunications and delays could set your mind spinning. This might cause you to go back and forth over all the scenarios. So before you write endings for these potential plots, stop. You don't need to force connection. Real allies will meet you with clarity, not confusion. Now mark July 20th on your calendar. This is when Mars meets the South Node in your 12th house. This will trigger whatever happened during the eclipse in mid-March. For you, it could reactivate burnout or self-sabotage. With Mars ruling your money and relationships, this is about confronting where you give away your power behind the scenes. The best way to use this energy is to release what isn't yours to carry. If your friend has debt, it's their debt. If your partner has unhealed childhood wounds, they need to do the shadow work. If your client can't afford to pay you for your services, it's not the right time to work together. If you sweep in for the fix, it will end up costing you. Then on July 22nd, the sun moves into Leo. Now until August 21st, you can make major headway on your future plans. You'll be assessing who your real friends and supporters are, and that's okay. You're trying to find the right people to build with. Since these are power aspects to your relationships, purpose, and happiness, if someone makes you feel good and actually walks their talk, lean in. If you're doing all the things to try to win approval or fit in, you got to pull back. This leads us to the new moon in Leo on July 24th. New moons are fresh starts. Now you can reset your social life, professional networks, and big picture goals. Since Leo is bold and courageous, embody this energy over the next 6 months by matching your mission with your magnetism. In 2026, you cannot shapeshift to be accepted. If you found value in your forecast, please pay it forward by subscribing to the channel, posting a comment, and clicking on the notification bell. Transcripts are posted on astrocoachkate.com, where you can find all the ways to train with me and book a free discovery call. Scorpio, sun, moon, and rising. Your energy is extra in July, so let's dive in. Starting on July 4th, when Venus moves into Gemini, your love life and fear of trust will intensify. While merging your resources, time, money, and energy may feel easier, it also puts you in a vulnerable state, and that's not a position you're naturally comfortable with. Since Venus rules your relationships and private thoughts, this transit will likely drop a truth bomb. So mid-month, when Venus squares Mars, your co-ruler, in your 11th house of groups, gains, and goals, an issue with a friend or colleague could trigger possessiveness or insecurity. Watch for power plays in your connections. Also on July 4th, Neptune goes retrograde until December. This is when you'll review your work, health, and schedule. Ask, are you using busy work to escape? I saw a quote the other day. It said, if they wanted to, they would. That means when we're ready to show up for someone, I'm busy is never going to be an excuse, right? So since Neptune rules your dating life, creative projects, and children, think about this. It's possible you've been putting on a smile, but the retrograde will help you get your real happy back. Then on July 7th, Uranus moves into Gemini for a few months to shake up your private 8th house. And this is just a preview of the next 7 to 8 years. The 8th is about intimacy, power, and control. It's the merging of resources, time, money, and energy. And since Uranus brings unexpected change, you may detach suddenly from someone or something you once depended on. With Uranus ruling your home, family, and the past, whatever happens will also shift your sense of security. So pay attention. In the fall, Uranus will backtrack into Taurus one final time. And this is when you'll revisit the relationship changes you've already been navigating. It's a process, but it will bring liberation. Remember, 2025 will clean house to position us for 2026. Now we need to prepare for the full moon in Capricorn on July 10th because it's personal for you. This moon is ruled by Saturn, your other chart ruler. So how you think, speak, and interpret events will be in the spotlight. With the sun in your ninth, there will likely be tension between what you believe and the truth of the matter. Because Saturn is tied to your family conditioning and public image, it's possible you've been gripping onto survival stories that perhaps aren't entirely true, but you've needed to keep replaying them to get through whatever happened, right? So the purpose of this full moon is to get real. Then you can rewrite the story. What you believe will change your future. Speaking of Saturn, he's been laying it on thick this year. Now from July 13th to November 27th, the taskmaster will go retrograde to help us process his lessons for you. This is about your work, health, and habits, what you do when you wake up in the morning, your work ethic, or if you ignore exhaustion to get the job done. It's when responsibility meets self-care. And since Saturn rules how you communicate and your emotional needs, you'll need to reassess your inner circle. Neighbors, family members, co-workers, people who you interact with on a daily basis. You cannot just keep doing it. It's actually not productive at all. Again, think about those survival stories and use the retrograde to rebuild your life by taking care of yourself. Because on July 18th, Mercury joins the retrograde magnets. You know the drill, miscommunications and delays. And since the energy lands in your 10th house of career, parenting, and social status, be prepared for canceled appointments, drama with your kids, or disagreements with your spouse or boss. Over what? Well, Mercury rules your 8th house of shared resources like debt, taxes, insurance, and inheritances. It's also connected to your friendships, professional networks, and long-term goals. So the retrograde will force you to rethink your public alliances and collaborations. If you've been giving too much, over-explaining yourself, or just going in circles about the same topic, take a different approach. Rushing will not prove anything. The opposite will happen. They'll have you just where they want you, confused and putting up with their nonsense. Now mark July 20th on your calendar. This, in my opinion, is a red flag day for you. Mars, your co-ruler, will activate the south node of karma in your 11th house. This will bring up past patterns in social settings or teamwork. Think back to what was happening during the eclipse mid-March. This is round 2. And since Mars rules your identity and body and your workload, the best way to use this energy is to let go of whoever or whatever is stressing you out or making you feel less than. You'll still need to contribute, but you don't have to conform. If you do this, Leo season will be very good for your career and reputation. It extends from July 22nd to August 21st. You will be seen during this time. You will be recognized for your effort. You will feel respected. But this isn't about image or ego. It's about having integrity, commanding respect, attracting acknowledgement. This is when it clicks. You'll be in flow state. Power is earned, not performed. And if you've been leading by example, you will be rewarded. So set your sights high on July 24th during the new moon in Leo. Over the next 6 months, you'll reset your career role as a parent or reputation. This is not the time to build success on those old survival stories. This is when you define success on your own terms. If you found value in your forecast, please pay it forward by subscribing to the channel, posting a comment, and clicking on the notification bell. Transcripts are posted on astrocoachkate.com, where you can find all the ways to train with me and book a free discovery call. Sagittarius, Sun, Moon, and Rising. You have such a lovely kickoff to the month. Here's what's happening. On July 4th, Venus enters Gemini, bringing sweetness to your 7th house of relationships. Your existing connections will flow smoothly, and you'll likely attract some new people. This says to me, fun times with others. So enjoy the first few weeks, because mid-month Venus starts squaring Mars. This is when love and career might clash. Someone might feel like you're not giving them full attention. And that makes sense, right? If you've been nose to nose and then you're like, oh, my inbox is overflowing and there's a mountain of paperwork on my desk, you'll need to take care of business and spend less time frolicking. So just be honest about what's going on. The right people will be patient as you get back on track. And that's an important note, because also on July 4th, Neptune will go retrograde in your 5th house of joy. This includes dating, creative projects, hobbies, and kids. So this is when you'll re-examine what makes you happy. With Neptune ruling your 4th, you might be questioning if your home zone supports the kind of life you want to live. But that's okay. You'll figure it out by December. This is not the time to perform or push. This is a time to sit back, enjoy the moment, and see what feels right. Because your relationships will be shaken this month. I told you that Venus square Mars may have someone feeling like you've deprioritized them. Well, Uranus brings unexpected changes, and he's activating your committed partnerships. So this could lead to sudden commitment or separation. With Uranus ruling your 3rd house, the way you communicate with your partners, romantic, business, and friendships, will be called into question. So remember, if something's going on at work, just keep it posted. You don't have to show them your calendar. In fact, don't. That's a trust test. In the fall, Uranus will back into Taurus for one final windshield wipe. This is when your work, health, and schedule will need revision. So if you determine that whoever is a ride or die, you'll make the time. If they've proven themselves to be unsupportive, you'll focus on self-care. Now let's prepare for the full moon in Capricorn on July 10th, because it's a big one. For you, the energy lands in your 2nd house of money and self-worth, and full moons represent turning points, completions, or endings. Since the sun is opposite the moon, calling attention to your shared resources, debt, taxes, mortgages, and insurance, now is the time to ask, are you over-relying on others or not asking for support at all? And because this moon is ruled by Saturn, again, clear communication is essential. I think this means you have to have the money talk. So if this is a romantic partner who's not pulling their weight, if this is a business partner or boss, are you being compensated properly? If this is a service provider, like a financial advisor or a state attorney, do you feel like they're providing enough value? You'll either need to negotiate or let them go. Especially with bigger fish to fry, starting on July 13th until the end of November, Saturn will go retrograde. Saturn is about lessons, rules, and limitations. The energy lands in your 5th house of joy. So that's sports, hobbies, creative projects, gambling, and children, all the fun stuff. Saturn wants you to take this seriously. And since he's connected to your money and your mindset, you can't fake fun. You need to feel unrestricted to be yourself. So think about that. Because a few days later, on July 18th, Mercury now joins the retrograde madness. So let's break it down. Mercury is about communication, ideas, and technology. Retrogrades bring delays and miscommunications. In the 9th house, the slowdown will impact education, travel, a legal matter, or your higher beliefs. This is the house of major decisions. And since Mercury rules your relationships, career, and reputation, this is not the time to rush contracts or make public declarations. This is a time to sit with what's going on, gather the facts, and let it play out. You will come out of this retrograde with more information than you had going in. Then you can make a move on your own terms. Now a red flag day for you this month. It's July 20th. This is when Mars activates the South Node in your 10th house of career, parenting, and reputation. This will trigger whatever went down during the lunar eclipse in mid-March. I think it's asking you to stop chasing someone else's version of success. Since Mars rules what makes you happy and your private thoughts, I believe the best way to use this energy is to go let off steam, play a sport, dive into a project, go on a fun date, play with your kids. Otherwise, you could fall into some of the shady vibrations of the 12th, like isolation, vices, or self-loathing. Okay, let's turn our attention to Leo season. From July 22nd to August 21st, the sun moves through your ninth house, which again is the big picture house. It's where we gain our wisdom through self-development, travel, and learning from other cultures, experiences that help us learn new perspectives. It's also where we anchor ourselves in our morals and ethics. So I think connecting with elders and mentors is a great way to use this energy, which means it's okay and encouraged to admit you don't have all the answers, especially when you're actively exploring what they could be. And here's the really cool news. On July 24th, there's a new moon in Leo. New moons are fresh starts. I'm a little jealous. Over the next 6 months, you have the opportunity to plant seeds for long-term growth through education and travel. You could use this knowledge to become a teacher. Maybe you write a book or create a course. For a small portion of you, this could involve a legal matter. If that's the case, you'll learn so much about yourself through the process that by the new year, you'll actually consider it a blessing. If you found value in your forecast, please pay it forward by subscribing to the channel, posting a comment, and clicking on the notification bell. Transcripts are posted on astrocoachkate.com, where you can find all the ways to train with me and book a free discovery call. Capricorn, sun, moon, and rising. We have a lot to get through with your chart ruler going retrograde. But first, let's look at what Venus is up to. Starting on July 4th, Venus moves into Gemini. This is a great transit because it activates your work environment, daily routines, and health. And since Venus is all about beauty, you're putting in the effort and you're looking good. Just know that mid-month, Venus will square Mars in your ninth house. So this points towards tension with a legal matter or frustration when traveling, like flight cancellations. It could also mean competition, like with your classmates if you're in school, or this could be about politics. Maybe what's happening in the world makes you angry. So I think the best way to work with Venus this month is not to overcommit yourself. Leave plenty of wiggle room in your schedule, and if things do get a little heated, exercise. Also on July 4th, Neptune starts moving backwards. This is when your home life could get confusing. Since Neptune rules your third house of communications, maybe your spouse or roommate says one thing and does another. You might be selling or buying a home and you think the deal's done, but the inspection reveals something you didn't see coming, or a relative could come visit you out of the blue. This could also be about your childhood. Maybe you have a dream that helps you heal from the past. While the truth is going to set you free, it may sting a little at first. Whatever it is, change is in the air. We know this because Uranus, the planet of innovation and disruption, is moving into Gemini on July 7th. This will shake up your work environment, health, or schedule. So maybe all of a sudden someone quits and you're thrown into a leadership position or have to shoulder more work, or you get bit by a bee and discover you're allergic. Since Uranus rules your second house of money, if you do take on more responsibility at the office, you could get the paycheck to match, or for whatever reason you lose your job, you might have to scramble to replace your income. If this is health related, the medical expenses could cost more than expected. Like you think insurance will pick it up, but it doesn't. Uranus will move back into Taurus in the fall. This is when you'll take a look at the things that make you happy, like hobbies, sports, kids, and creative projects. So between now and October, get your health and schedule on track so you can reset the more fun areas of your life then. And now to your grand finale. On July 10th, you have your one and only full moon of the year. Full moons bring turning points, completions, or endings. And this obviously is happening in your first house, which includes your identity, how others see you, how you see them, as well as your body. Since your chart ruler, Saturn, is the focal point, this release will impact your finances. And with an opposition to the sun in your seventh house of committed partnerships, someone else is involved. So this could be when you become aware of how a relationship has changed your identity, altered your health, or impacted your finances. Since the karmic nodes are at play, your values or your voice will be emphasized. So I think whatever is happening is a blessing. You're exchanging an old identity for a new one. But here's your true headliner for the month and all the way until November. Saturn again, your chart ruler, will retrograde. in your fourth house of home, family, and emotional foundation. Since Saturn is about lessons, rules, and karma, this slowdown is asking you to rebuild what you need to feel secure. And remember, Saturn is your body and identity, as well as your finances and self-worth. So I think you're going to be reflecting on family patterns, maybe even generational trauma, or this might be about expectations your family has of you or you of them. I say burn the house down and build from scratch, but I also have Uranus crossing my sun and ascendant right now. So just think this through and do what's best for your family. In fact, no cut and dry decisions need to be made right now. Now, with Mercury joining the retrograde madness, this will last from July 18th to August 10th, and miscommunications or delays will involve shared assets like taxes, debt, loans, and inheritances. The 8th is also about intimacy and our greatest fears, so you could be thinking about setting up a trust for your family, or maybe you're preparing a will that transfers assets to your children when the time comes. Since Mercury rules your work, health, and schedule, these delays could pull focus from those areas. Mercury is also tied to your 9th house, which includes legal matters, education, travel, and your beliefs. So if you are dealing with the separation of assets, getting a straight answer might be hard to come by. Or if you have a big trip planned, you'll want to protect yourself with travel insurance. This is a time when some things just need facing, but to bring it full circle, don't rush into contracts or leases until the end of August when you have all the facts. Now let's talk about one of the red flag days of the month. On July 20th, Mars will meet with the South Node in Virgo. This energy will trigger whatever happened during the lunar eclipse in mid-March. Your 9th house is back in the spotlight. So again, legal matters, education, long-distance travel, in-laws, or your stance on religion, politics, or ethics. With Mars ruling your home life and long-term goals, I think this is a matter of principle. So the question is, are you fighting for something because it's your truth or what someone else said was true? This day seems pretty dogmatic to me. Okay, let's start closing out the month. On July 22nd, the sun moves into Leo. The sun is how we shine. It's the source in which we pull our vitality. And Leo is the lion. He's courageous. The energy moves into your 8th house of other people's money and shared assets, like, again, loans, mortgages, joint bank accounts. It's also about deep bonds, soul connections. So up until the 21st of August, I don't think strength will come from what you have. I think it's what you're willing to share, transform, or let go of, which leads us to the new moon in Leo on July 24th. Over the next 6 months, the universe is giving you the opportunity to rebuild your emotional and financial security. You'll need to work for it. This is the house of sacrifice, but I'm telling you, when you reach the other side of dealing with shared assets, healing trauma, opening yourself to being vulnerable and trusting someone, you will be unstoppable. You can't fake power, but you can grow into it. If you found value in your forecast, please pay it forward by subscribing to the channel, posting a comment, and clicking on the notification bell. Transcripts are posted on astrocoachkate.com, where you can find all the ways to train with me and book a free discovery call. Aquarius, sun, moon, and rising, you lucky duck. In July, Venus, the planet of love, money, and beauty, moves into Gemini on July 4th. Your 5th house of joy will be filled with flirtation and charisma. This area of your chart includes dating, children, sports, creative projects, and the stock market. So write fun and risk in big, bold letters on your calendar. That said, by mid-month, Venus will start squaring Mars. Now you have the two planets of passion in conflict with each other. Venus is connected to your home life and your beliefs. Mars for you is about money, trust, control, and sex. This is a very manipulative placement. Watch out for power plays around any emotional or financial entanglements. You don't have to sacrifice happiness for security. That's not safe at all. The good news is, no matter how hard Mars pushes, Venus won't compromise her values. So rework your plans or cut the cord. Because also on July 4th, Neptune, the illusionist, will go retrograde in your 3rd house of communications and ideas. While this is an opportunity to rewire your brain, Neptune's purpose is to confuse. With Neptune ruling your 2nd house of money and self-worth, I think this is about how your thoughts influence your sense of value. If from now until December, you find yourself downplaying your power, take a stand and reclaim your voice. On July 7th, Uranus moves into Gemini. When he moves into a new sign, he likes to shake things up. The energy lands back in your 5th house of pleasure. So this could bring spontaneity to your dating life, artistic ventures or interactions with kids. And since Uranus is your co-ruler, being in love looks good on you. Playing sports has you in great shape. Having fun with your kids is bringing out the child in you. This is electric joy. But as you know, Rebel, Uranus is as equally disruptive as it is innovative. So for your fixed sign, if you resist the change, dating, projects, or your kids could feel more like a chore. In the fall, Uranus will move back into Taurus for one final sweep of your home life. So between now and October, have fun before the holiday tension starts brewing. You suddenly have to move, or your parents move in with you. It could happen. This energy builds into the full moon in Capricorn on July 10th. Full moons are turning points or endings, and this one lands in your private 12th house where all the skeletons are buried. With the sun opposite the moon in your 6th house of work, health, and habits, burnout or behind-the-scenes struggles could reach a climax. Lean into the higher vibrations of the 12th. Feel something. Capricorn is ruled by Saturn, also your co-ruler. So this is personal. It will impact your body or identity and involve a partner. You need to take this seriously, but you don't have to go this alone. While closure will come from within, you can work with a therapist, astrologer, or coach to help you sort through the muck. I promise it's in your best interest. There are favorable aspects to the nodes of destiny. The South Node needs you to let go of fear. The North Node wants you to embrace your value. Let's keep drilling down on Saturn. From July 13th to the end of November, the taskmaster goes retrograde. Again, Saturn is your co-ruler. He impacts your outlook on life and your private thoughts. He brings structure and discipline to these areas and helps you balance out your more eccentric Uranian energy. So during the retrograde, Saturn will move into your 3rd house of communications and ideas. This includes how you speak to others and to yourself. It also points towards your skills. So if you're a writer, developer, marketer, or salesperson, Saturn will help you buckle down and be more productive. But you won't just learn how to say or create. You'll be able to discern if it's worth saying or creating. And this will save you a lot of time, money, and energy in the long run. Then on July 18th, Mercury joins the retrograde madness. Be prepared for miscommunications and static to mess with your relationships, romantic, business, and friendships. Past issues, exes, or anything left unsaid could resurface. Since Mercury rules your love life and shared resources, time, money, and energy, clarity, not just closure, is needed. Say it, mean it, own it, and then listen more. Because on July 20th, Mars will connect with the South Node, reactivating the lunar eclipse from mid-March. So think about what was happening in your private life. Did a large bill come due? Were you struggling with debt? Did the bank deny your loan? Since Mars rules your skills and your career, did you or your partner lose their job? The 8th house is also about fears, intimacy, and financial dependency. So if any of these things happened, have you been relying on someone else to pick up the slack or vice versa? Has that caused trust issues or a weird power dynamic in your relationship? This is round 2, and you may need to rewrite the terms today. But this is divinely timed because just days later, on July 22nd, the sun moves into Leo. This will light up your relationships. But this isn't just about love. It's about commitment. Ask, does your partner reflect your growth, or do they dim your light? If you listen to your June forecast, you know that you also have Pluto retrograde in Aquarius right now. So this is about power between you and someone close to you. I think the best way to spend Leo season is to honor your heart and maintain your boundaries. This sets the stage for the new moon in Leo on July 24th. New moons are fresh starts. Over the next 6 months, you have the opportunity to reset your relationships, set intentions for healthy, reciprocal connections. And again, this is not just romantic. It includes professional and interpersonal relationships too. Leo wants you to be brave. The sun needs you to shine, and Pluto is pushing you to transform. If you found value in your forecast, please pay it forward by subscribing to the channel, posting a comment, and clicking on the notification bell. Transcripts are posted on astrocoachkate.com, where you can find all the ways to train with me and book a free discovery call. Pisces, sun, moon, and rising Venus is moving through your 4th house, delivering charm and connection, with your family. You may feel inspired to redecorate or renovate or spend more time with your parents, but this isn't just surface level. Venus rules your third house of communication and eighth house of shared resources. This suggests that conversations may get deep, including talks about debt, inheritances, and mortgages, or memories from your childhood could stir up fears of abandonment or trust. All the more by mid-month, Venus squares Mars in your seventh, putting pressure on your one-on-one relationships. Expect tension with someone you live with. One of you might be withholding affection because you're not seeing eye to eye. Bottom line, this transit can help you keep the peace at home as long as you speak up without being confrontational. It's all in the delivery, dodge the drama. Now let's get into the retrograde madness. We already know Pluto is moving backwards, which can have you doubting your life direction. Now Neptune, the illusionist, goes retrograde on July 4th, and this is big. The energy starts in your second house of money, self-worth, and resources, asking you to get real about where you're chasing a dream versus how you're building stability. By September, Neptune returns to your sign for one final review, so ask, who are you now? The fog will lift by December, but only if you're honest with yourself. Because on July 7th, you'll start getting a glimpse of your future self. This is when Uranus, the planet of innovation and disruption, moves into Gemini. The energy will cause sudden changes in your fourth house of home and family. You might feel restless. Maybe you won't feel like you belong, especially since Uranus also rules your 12th house of things you keep hidden. So these changes may begin from within. This is when you really want to pay attention to your dreams. By the fall, Uranus retrogrades back into your third house, asking you to rewrite the story you tell yourself and others about your family, childhood, or the past. This energy leads us to the full moon in Capricorn on July 10th. I believe it marks a turning point in your friendships, communities, or long-term goals. With the sun in your fifth house, your desires may clash with responsibilities or politics, especially involving your social circle or professional networks. Saturn, the full moon's ruler, ties this to how you show up in the world, and since the South Node is involved activating your partnerships, the question is, are you living for others' approval or living your life for yourself? I know this all sounds intense, but it is divinely timed. 2025 is a comic sweep for everyone. So on July 13th, when Saturn now joins Pluto and Neptune in the retrograde madness, you'll be reworking your relationship with money, refining your budget, gifting or selling possessions, or getting serious about how you earn a living. This isn't so much about finances as it may seem, though. I think this is more about either security or chasing a dream, because Saturn rules your 12th and 11th houses. So this reevaluation is tied to your goals and what you need to heal. Do you feel compensated for your hard work? Are you earning in ways that make you feel good? Or do you feel like a cog in the machine? This is when I'd look at your goals to see if they are, one, outdated, and two, calling the shots. If all of this wasn't enough, starting on July 18th, Mercury goes retrograde through your sixth house, bringing delays, revisions, or miscommunication in your daily routines, work, or health. With Mercury ruling your fourth and seventh houses, the ripple effect will hit your home life and partnerships, romantic, business, and friendships. So between now and mid-August, don't rush decisions and temper your expectations. This is a good time to rest, rework, and renegotiate. Because July 20th could set off some dormant fireworks in your close relationships when Mars joins forces with the South Node in Virgo. This is when old patterns in relationships resurface because Mars rules your second and ninth houses. So that's your money and your morals. This energy is triggering the lunar eclipse from mid-March. So look back at your journal, calendar, photo album. I think you really need to stand your ground. If codependency is your thing, it will come back to bite you should someone not show up the way you want them to. Or if you've been avoiding a hard conversation about finances, you won't be able to ignore the sit down. The ruler of this eclipse point is Mercury, which, as we know, is retrograde. So listen twice, speak once. I hope this helps you get ahead of the energy. At least on July 22nd, we enter into Leo season. So you start the month with flirty energy, and now you get to have more fun. With the sun now in your sixth house, the focus is on wellness, time management, and your work environment. There are also positive aspects to Uranus and Saturn that are encouraging changes. Yes, Pluto's opposition will cause self-doubt. So to make the most of this energy, I'd suggest not trying to fix everything alone. You have to ask for and accept help to avoid burnout. This leads us to the new moon in Leo. This is an opportunity to start fresh when it comes to taking care of your mind and body. If you've been sacrificing your needs for everybody else's, now's the time to fuel your own tank. Stop taking on your coworkers' assignments. Turn off notifications so you can go for a walk and listen to music, minus the dings. And don't feel like you have to clean up other people's messes. This is not selfish. It's sacred. Over the next 6 months, do all the things for yourself. So there you have it. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Astro ROI. To help me create more value, please support the channel by subscribing and clicking on the notification bell. If you'd like a personal reading or if you'd like to train with me, go to astrocoachkate.com for game plan options. Enjoy the day, and I'll see you in August.